Hi everyone, welcome to a new devlog. This week I have been working on environments again. The challenge was to import the environment into Unreal and see what problems I was going to encounter to reproduce the Ghibli style. So let's get started. As you can see, the environment is pretty simple. It's a wooden house with some trees and bushes. The main problem was that I wanted to create a modular environment that used few materials and a very well optimized UV space. Thinking about all of that from the beginning was a bit overwhelming and I didn't know where to start. So what I did was to separate the scene by materials. This way I could start to grab the UVs and put the models in each of their UV spaces, which was a great way to start and simplify the process. Next, I textured the house because I wanted to see how to reproduce the Ghibli style in Unreal. Because it uses a very different realistic lighting system, the process I used in Blender for rendering in Eve didn't work out of the box. I have to say the lighting is a little bit more complex than usual because I wanted to recreate a sunset, not a typical scene in the middle of the day with a bright sun. With so much trial and error, the days flew by and the scene I had planned to finish in a week is still pending, so unfortunately I don't have too much progress to show. Despite that, I have learned a couple of very interesting techniques to make stylized and Ghibli style elements that I would like to share with you. In this case, I'm going to show you step by step how I made the bushes. The technique can be applied to trees, clouds, etc. So I'm going to show you how I did the bushes in my scene. I use the metaballs to do that. So the first thing I do is I add a metaball. And with these metaballs, I'm gonna create the main shape. So I'm gonna be duplicating and moving them, as you can see. The nice thing about the metaballs, as you can see, is like they try to blend between them. So it creates a very kind of fluffy shape. One thing that we can do to have a better resolution of the metaballs, if you go to the details here, on the resolution viewport, I usually put it at 0.1, so we have a better rendering and we can see better the shape. So the first pass I do it's with big spheres like that. So you create like the main shape, and then I'll do a second pass with the smaller balls to create a more detailed shape. Another interesting thing is you can use proportional editing to move your balls. So if I activate the proportional editing here, when I move, I can move based on the radius. I can move other balls. So that's sometimes very helpful to move the whole shape of the bush or the cloud you are creating. So once we have the shape that we like, what I do is I convert this on a mesh, because right now it's not a mesh, it's just like this metaball thing. So go to object, convert to mesh, and then now we have a mesh. But as you can see, it's it's not crazy high on polygons, but if you plan to use this bush in a lot of places, maybe it's too high. So we are gonna optimize it, and we are gonna try to make it a bit simpler, so the shape is not that rounded like this. So one thing that works very good to do that, it's the decimate. Before doing that, I'm gonna apply the transform because I wanna unify size. So now I have all the scale at 1. So I go to my modifiers, I'm gonna add a decimate, and I always do the ratio, it's 0.1. So now we have a simpler, we went from, I think it was like 6,000, no, it was like, from almost 12,000 to 2,000, almost 2,000 face count. So this is gonna be our Bosch. The next step, it's we create a copy, and this is gonna be, I'm gonna start naming stuff, because so this is our Bosch, and this is gonna be our custom normals. Gonna hide the Bosch for a moment. So our custom normals, I like to really simplify. Maybe that's too much. We'll see in a second when we apply the custom normals. But we can play with this number here, the ratio, to see how good or how bad it's our lining. So let me hide this, show that again, and then I'm gonna apply the decimate, and I'm gonna add this new modifier called data transfer. So that allows us to copy normals from another object to our current object. So here, activate face corner data, activate custom normals, and usually, the source, we need to point to the custom normals, and then we get this warning here. So just go to your vertex, normals, and activate or enable auto smooth. So as you can see, the lining, it dramatically changed. And what I like of using a very simple custom normals is that we just, with the lining, we already kind of get this like paintbrush style that I think it's very cool for Stylizer and Ghibli Style. Another thing that I do that I just forgot, it's on the custom normals, I add another modifier to smooth my normals. So here you can see it got a little bit more smooth. You can play with the repeat, so as you can see it gets more and more smooth. But I kind of like at 1, because then we get like more like again, like more paintbrush kind of style. So this is what we need to do for modeling. So for the texturing, I use 2 techniques. One is texture base and the other one is shader base. I'm going to explain here the texture base. The first thing I need to do, once we have our shape and we're happy with how our bush looks, it's to unwrap it. So to unwrap it, I'm going to go very fast. Obviously, you can do that in a better fashion, but I'm gonna just try to split it into pieces. Obviously, I mean, that can be much better done, but another thing I want to say, it's we are gonna be texturing this in texture painter. In Substance Painter. So the UVs, I think they aren't that important. It's important to optimize the UV space, but how you use the seams or how you split the model, it's not that important nowadays. So I'm gonna mark the seams, and then let's go to UV editing, and I'm gonna unwrap, and then it's not very good, but what I'm gonna do, I have this awesome add-on called UVPackmaster that allows me or helps me to optimize the space, so I can get more resolution with the same space. So I pack, and we are ready now to take it to Substance. So I'm gonna export it as FBX. I'm gonna put it here on the desktop. Only select mesh, and the scale I want it at 0.001. Export. Okay, so here in Substance, the first thing I do is I bake the maps. So I go to texture settings and bake mesh maps. I like to have a big resolution, and then because I don't have a high poly, I use here the low poly as high poly to do the baking. The maps that I really use, it's mostly only the ambient occlusion. But it's good to have the other maps, because when we apply filters and other stuff in Substance, they rely on those maps. But for the final texture, it's basically the base color and the ambient occlusion. So the texturing can be done in Blender if you plan to do it manually. But I use Substance because I want to do it procedurally, so I can use this material to other brushes afterwards. So the first thing I do, it's I remove this layer, and then I'm gonna add 3 layers. One is gonna be the base color, and then the base color, because it's the first one, I'm gonna have color and rough. The roughness, I put it at 1 because I don't want any roughness on my material. And the color, we can do, let's do a medium green, maybe a green like that. Then I'm gonna have another color for shadows. This one is going to be just color, and we can pick our green and just make it a bit darker, like this. And then I'm going to have another one for my light color, and it's going to be same green but lighter. And then the way I paint that, obviously I could do it manually, but because I wanted to do procedurally, I'm going to use black mask. So I add a black mask to my shadow. I'm going to hide this for a second so we can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to add a generator, and I'm going to add the position generator. So here I like to go to my mask layer to see what I'm doing. And this position generator creates gradients. So what I want to do is to create a gradient from top to bottom to tell the texture where I want my darker color. So the darker color is going to be at the bottom, and our light color is going to be at the top. So here on the position gradient, so the mask, the way it works is what is white is what we show, and what is dark or black it's what we don't show. So I have to invert that, because right now I want my shadow to come from the bottom to up. So we can invert that. And I want a very like strong contrast, so we can play with the contrast. And then I want to move, I don't want the grain to be in the middle, I want it more at the bottom. So I play with the balance to bring it down. And I think that looks good. So we can come to our base color. I usually do it in base color because my material or the style I'm going for, it's gonna use this channel. So it's not very helpful. I mean, here with the material, you can see a little bit better the detail, but this detail is not gonna be transferred to the texture, but it doesn't really. I feel the base color, I can see better what I'm doing. So here I'm gonna add a filter to make it a little bit more like paintbrush style, and this it's the blur slope. So here you can see like it's doing this like kind of a weird texturing, but it's helps to sell the paintbrush. So to accentuate this effect, let me try. Maybe we can add another filter. This time we can do blur directional and do it in like that. And you can see already like it's looking pretty like brushes from the direction, like it has been painted this way. I think it's looking pretty nice. So I'm gonna do the same process for the light, and I can just copy this mask, copy mask. I enable the label, the layer, then I add a black mask, and then I pass into mask. So obviously I need to move that on top now. So I'm gonna hide the effects, the filters, go to here, let me go to my mask, and then I'm gonna move the, well, first of all I need to invert it because we want it to start at the top to the bottom, and then global balance. I think I messed up something here. Usually global blur. Okay, so the balance, position gradient, let me here top to bottom. Okay, so yeah, I wanted something like this, but I don't want it so harsh. Let me see, contrast. Let me, I don't know, I think I messed up too much all the options. I'm gonna add it again and start from scratch because it's not giving me, it's like, I think I messed up too much the settings and I couldn't get it back. Okay, so here, yeah, I wanted that. More contrast. Okay, so now I'm happy with this gradient, and then I have those filters that we can make accentuate more, and let's see how it looks. So here, as you can see, we have the three bands, and you can play with that. Other things that I usually do, it's I add color variation, so we can do here variation, and then just color, add a black mask again for the color. You can pick this one, and then add a generator. We can add dirt, for example, and it's gonna make stuff more like on the kind of like the cavities. It's adding more like the dirt there. And let me go. That is the base color. And again, we can go apply that slope, and then add the directional. And this is maybe too strong, so you can always can try to multiply and then bring it down to maybe 45. So this is one technique you can use. Obviously, maybe the gradients aren't that good here. It would be nicer to break it more. But that's one of the techniques that I usually do. And from here, this is just, obviously you need to work much more in this, but this is a great foundation to start and to recreate your bushes or your clouds or whatever you're doing. Technique I want to show you, it's using is shader base, and there are two very important steps that we have to keep in mind. The first one is the way we unwrap the model. So here, as you can see, if I go to edit mode, I have triangles, and I need to have quads. So how I do it, it's I have this add-on called Quad Remesher. It's very useful for retopologizing, and the way it works, it's you select the model, you put here the amount of quads that you want, and you just click Remesh, and it's gonna create a copy with the new quads. As you can see here, now I have all quads, I hope, because I tried before and I got one triangle, but usually you got just quads. That's what we want. Then I'm gonna go, I have to do something first. Go to object mode. As you can see, now it's very ugly looking. That's why, because we the custom normals are lost, because this is a copy, so we need to copy again the custom normals. So the way I do it is I select this mesh and I select the original mesh that contains the normals that I want, and I copy the modifiers. I could just do again the data manually, but I wanted to show you how you can easily copy modifiers from one object to another object. Now I'm gonna go to edit mode, and what I want to do is I want to create seams for each quad. So unwrap, and I do mark seam. Then I go to the UV editing, I unwrap. Now we have all these quads here, and I want to present it. So perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. It's to have all the models separated by quads, and all the quads using the same space. So now I can export that to Unreal, FBX, select objects, the scale is 0001, and I'm gonna call this Bush UE, export. And then, okay, here in Unreal, I'm gonna import our bush. Import all. So here it's our bush, that it's huge, that it's all good. Then the second thing we need, it's a mask. And I'm gonna show you here. I'm on Photoshop. I downloaded this shape from internet, and using this shape, I created this kind of like shape, or yeah, like but this is for the color. So, and I used exactly the same for a mask. I'm gonna put a black background here to show you. So it's exactly the same, but I blur it a little bit. That I feel like it works a little bit better on Unreal. So the only thing, if you wonder the color thing, it's just here. I'm gonna show you. I just added some colors to that shape. Then to create the, I just duplicated, move it, and created this kind of weird mask. So once we have the mask, you can have a color, but you don't really need it. It's just for me to have more variation. We go back to Unreal, and then I'm gonna show you something that the second part that it's very important here. What we need, I'm gonna put this as an image on the description, so you can just copy it, because I copied as well. It's not something I came up with. I think this is very complex to probably understand if you're not a shader guy, and I'm not. So I'm gonna just copy these nodes and create a new material. So let's create a new material. And test. Then apply our material. Paste. As I said, I'm gonna have an image with that, so you can just copy and paste or try or reproduce the nodes. So what we want is, and this is only a part of the shader, obviously, to recreate lights, but I have a link of a tutorial that they explain the whole process, how to recreate this shader. So if you're interested, you can just check it from there. I'm not gonna go into, because you can already check that tutorial. So this goes to okay, I forgot something on our material. We want it as a mask, so this texture can go to the opacity mask, and all of the other nodes go to world position offset. So we apply. And then we can see here that we have a very weird looking bush, but that's because I'm gonna create an instance, and then it's gonna be easy to test. So we can add that here, and then Unreal. Okay, so I'm gonna edit the instance, and the good thing is on those nodes that we are gonna copy and paste or reproduce, there are these three settings that we can play with. And basically, if you make this bigger, maybe let's say 5, and then maybe here 1. As you can see, now we have a very different bush, and I think this technique is very cool because we are using the vertex displacement to create this detail, but at the same time we are having that simplified lining coming from our custom normals. So to show you one of the bushes I did, so here you can see my bush with some color. So yeah, that's it. I think this is a really nice technique that we can use to have more fluffy and detailed foliage, or even clouds, trees, or anything you can think of. I hope this has been helpful. Every Monday I upload a new devlog with the progress made during the week, tips and tricks for Blender and Unreal. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and leave comments if you have any questions or suggestions. Next week I hope to be able to show the finished scene and share with you the new things I'm sure I will learn. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.